Shalom, back again with another lesson. Before I begin this lesson, I'd first like to begin by giving all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Recha Kodash. I give double honors to my elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I've learned this truth from. I want to say peace and salutations to Akim, you brothers out there laboring, pushing this word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice. I want to say shalom to Israelite sisters that may be listening, and also to you Israelites that are scattered across the four corners of the earth. You may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the chosen seed line, shalom. So I wanted to do this lesson today just based on the events that have taken place during this calendar year. So it's now 2026 according to the Gregorian calendar, and 2026 has definitely started off with a bang. Currently only 5 days into the year, into the new year. And so far we've seen quite a few events, right? For one, Iran has declared total war on America.
Overseas now to an ominous declaration by Iran. That country's president saying it's at, quote, total war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe.
And you have Elon Musk, who's ramping up production of the Brain CHIP.
Elon Musk says brain chips are going mainstream in 2026. Yes, actual chips implanted in human brains. Musk just announced that Neuralink plans to begin high-volume production of its brain-computer interface this year, using what he calls an almost entirely automated brain surgery.
That technology, You've also had America invaded Venezuela and kidnapped the sitting president of a sovereign country and his wife.
Arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision.
Amor. Ay, no.
Basically brought him up on charges or drug trafficking or drug charges, which is quite a bit of a mockery if you look at the scheme of things. A president of the United States has invaded another country and kidnapped its leader, and then came out and basically said, we're going to run the country.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
When you look into it deeper, you can see that the USA has broken the UN Charter, which has brought condemnation from places like Russia and other countries.
Well, Venezuela's other major ally, that's Russia, has also condemned the attack. In a series of statements, its foreign ministry said that we strongly urge the American leadership to reconsider its position and release the legally elected president of the sovereign country and his wife. This morning, the United States committed an act of armed aggression against Venezuela. This is deeply concerning and condemnable.
We never believe that any country can act as the world's police, nor do we accept that any country can claim to be an international judge. The sovereignty and security of all countries should be fully protected by international law. China has always opposed the use or threat of force in international relations and opposes imposing one country's will on another. China is willing to work together with the international community, including Pakistan, to firmly uphold the UN Charter, safeguard the bottom line of international morality, uphold the sovereign equality of all countries, jointly maintain world peace and development, and jointly promote the building of a community with a shared future for mankind.
What we're seeing in other countries is a lot of people are protesting that America has done this.
protesters have taken to the streets across the country, rallying against the actions of the US in Venezuela. A group at Sydney's Town Hall last night calling on the Albanese government to condemn the United States.
A 19th century declaration of entitlement that has no moral, legal or political legitimacy in the 21st century. It asserts that the Caribbean and Latin America are not sovereign spaces but US property. Its modern first cousin, not far removed, the US national security strategy, is simply empire with updated language that cites preemptive violence, economic strangulation, information warfare, and the deployment of proxy governments.
I see an article or a news report basically saying that the reason they didn't get congressional approval is because they were tracking a drug criminal and they wanted to bring him up on charges.
Members of Congress and other legal experts have said this operation to take Maduro was illegal because you didn't seek congressional authorization. Why wasn't congressional authorization necessary?
It wasn't necessary because this was not an invasion. We didn't occupy a country. This was an arrest operation. This was a law enforcement operation. He was arrested on the ground in Venezuela by FBI agents, read his rights, and removed from the country. I encourage everyone, I know it's Sunday, people are busy, but the indictments have now been unsealed. People should read this indictment. They should read this indictment. They should read what this man did for the last 15 years of his life against the United States, him and his wife.
However you dress it, however you state what the situation is, the fact that America sent troops and into Venezuela and bombed Caracas, you know what I mean? They bombed it. They were dropping bombs everywhere and there's deaths. You know what I mean? Like, that just goes to show you that, America's just on a warpath at the moment, which is like, indicating that, or it's like an omen to show you that, hey, war is on the mind. The time Esau is getting ready to come into is going to be a time of death and destruction, right? Now, Lord willing, bring out some scriptures. I don't plan to make this a long lesson, but we'll see how the Spirit moves. But, we can see other countries, protests erupting around the world and all that other stuff. We're definitely in that time, that time frame, when you look in the book of Ecclesiastes. As a matter of fact, let me just start there, right? Well, the Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiastes. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, right? Now, I'm just going to skip down, because you can read this Ecclesiastes 3. You can read the scriptures. But the point that I want to get to is in verse 8. So this is Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 8. It says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Now, we're not in a time of peace. We're not in a time of love. There's a lot of hatred that's going around. And as, obviously we're seeing the talks of war, right? So without further ado, I pray that this lesson be edifying through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Without further ado, we're just going to get into it. As we continue, I want to read in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. I'm going to start from the top, verse 1. It says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. Right? So when you read the scripture, the Lord said he wants us to speak to his people. Now, who are the Lord's people? The Israelites. So it's not about the outward appearance, because like I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson when I did the opening, that the Israelites are scattered across the four corners of the earth. So they may look like these other nations. So they could look like a so-called Chinese person, could look like a so-called East Indian or Japanese, white person, But predominantly, it's only speaking to the Israelites, which are the Lord's people. So 2nd Ezra 15 and 1, it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. The Lord has put the spirit of truth in the prophets' mouths. And the prophets are out here giving you the warning, giving you the update, telling you what's getting ready to happen. You know, starting with the head apostles, elders, apostles of Great Millstone, and the brothers, like-minded brothers on down. We've been telling you for the longest time that, hey, look, these things are getting ready to happen. You know, it's almost like, you know, when you bring out these prophecies, a lot of time people can't see it because obviously they don't have the foresight to be able to see and connect the dots to see that this is what the scriptures have been telling us, right? But now that you got the prophets, the men of the Lord that are out in the highways and hedges, giving you the update, now you can start to see it a little bit more clearly, right? So I'm going to start again from the top. 2 Esdras 15:1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. So what you're starting to see is what the brothers, the elders have been telling you is true. Starting to see now that it's true. So what we're starting to see is a lot of these prophecies come into pass. There's only a few prophecies remaining before, you know, the total destruction comes, the day of the Lord, you know. And we're on the cusp of that. In the first 5 days of the year 2026, you know, all these things that have been announced, you know, it's quite crazy the how clear it's becoming. If you can't see it, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the Lord just hasn't put the spirit on you to see it, but it's as clear as day, right? So we get to 2 Esdras chapter 15 verse 3. It says, fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, right? So when it says fear not the imaginations against thee, like, don't worry about what people say about you. They don't believe it. That's fine. They don't believe it. It says, let not the incredulity, and incredulity is the unbelief, right? Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Because you will have people come up and they'll scoff. You know, we had a camp this weekend, or this past weekend, and a woman come up and she said, it's nothing, the Bible's nothing to do with America. It's nothing to do with that. You got to, you know, follow Jesus Christ. You know, and I don't even like to use that name. His true name, the Son of the Most High, Yahweh, his true name of the Son is Yahweh Shai, which means he's deliverer, right? It says, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. So obviously, you know, hey, if you believe what you believe, go your way. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit here and listen to us. We're only trying to warn you and give you the update because clearly the Lord told us, right? Speak in the ears of his people the words of prophecy. If she's not obviously open to receive it, it's nothing to do with America, then maybe she's just not the Lord's people. She's just going to have to deal with whatever, you know, comes her way, right? So verse 4, right? It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So like, her story's already written. You know, she's getting ready to feel that punishment that the Lord's getting ready to dish out on the earth, especially Esau, Edom, you know? So verse 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Now, like I say, like you see all these things getting ready to take place in the earth. You see, you know, all these wars and everything taking place. And this is what the Lord is getting ready to do. So as we continue, and this is the reason why the Lord's getting ready to do it, right? This is 2 Esdras chapter 15, verse 6. It said, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Meaning they've done, you know, you've crossed the line. You've done more than you know, more than any other nation. You've completely gone the hell off, right? And verse 7, it says, therefore saith the Lord. So the Lord's now, he's sick and tired of Esau's wickedness, right? It says, therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Right? Look at America, for example. America's been bombing them fishing boats, you know, with no due process, no evidence of anything. They just, oh, there's a speedboat in the ocean, let's just blow it up. You know? Now, again, nobody's, you know, innocent, right? There was judgment that was being passed out by the Lord, but at the same time, Esau don't know that. Esau's just like, oh, there's a speedboat, it must be carrying drugs, bomb it. You know? So it says, behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me. I bet them, if they were fishermen, or even if they wasn't, you know, they just trying to live, trying to survive, you know, and all of a sudden, boom, blown up, dead. I bet they're probably thinking, like, Lord, what, you know, why, what, how are they able to bomb me, just kill me on the spot without any due process or anything? They just executed me, right? And what does it say? It says, behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And that's what we're doing. The men of the Lord are complaining at this devil, this wicked man that's in rulership at the moment, how he's conducting, how he's, you know, running everything. He's running into the ground. He's destroying everything, right? So you think the Lord ain't going, you know, come see Esau about this? Esau's getting ready to be taken out, right? So I'm going to jump to the book of Matthew, chapter 24, right? Because again, like I said, it's getting ready for the time of war, right? This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Now we're starting to see that, are we not? We're starting to see Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, you know, America and EU nations, you know, like they're all, you know, rising up against each other, right? Which is leading towards that final war, you know, which will be in the Levant region over there in the so-called Middle East, right? That's where it's leading to, World War III. We're starting to see now America, aka Trump, is giving Iran ultimatums, you know?
Speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup.
Talking about getting ready to start using weapons against Iran. What do you think is going to happen with that? It's all going to kick off after that point, right? And it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Right? There was earthquakes. I think the Ring of Fire has been seeing a lot of seismic activity in recent days, recent weeks. Right? But it says in verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right? This is just the beginning. Now, we understand that obviously this is 2026 is going to continue to be a destructive year. 2025, you know, was a bad year. 2024 was a bad year. Ever since, you know, 2020, I would say each year has just gotten progressively worse and worse and worse. Now, 5 days into the 2026, and all this talk of war is getting ready to take place, you know, and it's only just going to get worse from there. 2026 is not going to be any better than 2025. Matter of fact, it will probably be a lot worse, right? So again, you know, we come out to warn our people, let them know, hey, this is what's getting ready to happen. So all we can advise you is to prepare. Prepare yourself by coming back to the Lord, repenting, you know, to the best of your ability, you know, keeping the commandments to the best of your ability, and you know, just praying that the Lord has mercy on you, because the Lord is getting ready to judge this place, right? So, like I said, I didn't want to make this a long lesson. I just wanted to quickly touch on, you know, the events that have taken place in the first 5 days of the year. But, you know, hey, we're going to see more. So, you know, this won't be the last update, but, you know, Lord willing, I should say, Lord willing, this won't be the last update. But again, you know, we're just going to have to keep pushing, man. We have to, you know, warn you as much as we can, but up until that point where, you know, Esau makes it illegal for us to speak on these things. But, you know, hey, we're going to keep warning. We're going to keep doing as the Lord commanded, right? So I pray that this lesson has been edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And with that, it's on to the next one, Lord willing. Shalom.